Welcome everyone. This is Brother Jamala coming to you again, also known as Brother Soldier. Um, we had concluded part one. We were discussing courage, and we were discussing likability and respect. So we also kind of touched on or ended up on the thing about the plantation and where a lot of the fear comes from in the past, and how we can overcome that and be more functional in today's society and within the context of a struggle that we're in for liberation. Now, something that I missed that I did not tell you in this part one was the quote that I said, that was when it says courage isn't just being unafraid. It's directly facing your fears and doing what is right despite those fears. That's by Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. So I want to give him credit for that. The first one I told you, that I already gave you the person who said that one. Now, when we left off, we were talking about being able to face your fears, being able to stand on your own and not be afraid of reprisal, because the things that are important to us is more serious than us being paralyzed and staying in our own fears and never progressing as a people. So we have to move forward. And if we have God with us also, that should give us a little bit of guarantee about the outcome, because God is a God of truth. God is a God of courage, and that's what he expects from us, even though we may be afraid. Now, we do know there's very many men in the Bible, very many women that were afraid to do things that they knew that they needed to do, but they did them anyway because they had the ability to face those fears, and even God with them, being with them, or the fact that you just know what to do is right. And when we talked earlier about values that we have and cultural things that are important to us, we will naturally protect those things. We'll naturally war and battle. Well, the courage, all of this goes together. All of this goes together in the making of a nice, good warrior. A warrior that triumphs for the dignity of himself, his people, and a warrior that triumphs for the benefit of all mankind. These are things that are notably worthy. We love people like this in our communities. We like people like this. Now, on the other hand, the character that would oppress us and the character that will cause us not to be this way is an enemy, or is a wolf, because they're threatened by your ability to thrive against the odds. So and when we talked earlier, I said that we're going to talk a little bit of how this affects people who are in opposition, because they think that you pose a threat, so they're going to look at you in ways that you wouldn't look at them. Dr. King once made a statement that I don't want to be judged by the color of my skin, but the content of my character. And he's saying that you should be able to look at somebody's character and determine their worth, that they're good people, but not by their skin color. But here's the catch to that. That sounds good, and it is good if you're dealing with people who also think the same way. But if you're dealing with anybody, I don't care whether he's African descent, European descent, Chinese descent, if their character is one that is threatened by the strength of another race or group, you're going to have a problem, because to me, it takes character to judge character. Remember, he said, I don't want to be judged by the color of my skin, but the content of my character. But it's going to take character in another person to see that your character is good, because they're looking for you to be a strong person. They're looking for you to have your head up. A person that has character is going to look for you to, just like if you have a child and you say, look me in the eyes when I'm talking to you, or you say, stand up and don't be slumped over, like they do you in the military. They say, stand up, put your chest out, put your head up. Okay, they're trying to get you to seem like you walk with a purpose in life, that you are representative of the military that you're trying to become a member in, or you're representative of the family that you're born into, you're representative of the tribe that you're born into. You're representative. They want you to be proud. So those kind of people are people that have character, that's looking for similar character that's going to make them look good also. But a person that doesn't like you, that's a wolf, that's an overseer, that's a taskmaster, that's a slave master, they're not looking for that in you. And you show them that, you've already broken the unwritten rule or whatever the case is, and now they want to put you in your place because you think that you are better, just because you are with backbone and you do have the right to speak up. Not condescending, but you're just a man, you're just a woman. And this is the problem I see in the diaspora in North America. They want to say a lot of times that racism is a thing of the past, and we got a black president, and we got people in these high places. Well, you can put the color of African, the color of blackness on a position of power, but if it's still a white controlled or European dominated power structure, then it's still going to oppress the people, or the masses of the people of color, because the agenda is anti-African and anti-black. The agenda is. Now, what, and we will get into some of these intricacies of agendas, but I'm just saying this to make a point that if you don't have character, you can't judge character. So I want to be judged by the content of my character too, but I don't want the wrong person judging me, because there's been many times that I've seen people like myself, me, that you could just be a straight up heterosexual, what you call nice, strong mannered man and woman, and you could, and they will hate you. The people that have that plantation slave master superiority complex, they will hate you when they see you hit the door. They already are threatened by you when you walk in the door. There was a term that some of these people on the enemy, on the wolf side, that despise this, they call you an uppity Negro. And there's a more derogatory term, but it's called uppity Negro. One that thinks that they are better than someone else, that think highly than he is, when he should be a low down Negro, because that's the place you're supposed to be in. So what I'm trying to say to you is, you're going to violate people's expectations, no matter whether they're good people or they're bad people. But you want good people. Now I've seen some European people that love to see you have some backbone and some strength about yourself, and some Africans of descent that have loved to see you stand up and be great. I've seen the rewards come from both sides. So I don't have a blanket statement to make about one or the other. Okay, but I'm just bringing these things out because we have a lot of people in the African race and the black African that volunteer their services to oppress and afflict their own people, just to be in good with those kind of people with the character that I told you, that doesn't really like you in any thriving position. So when I talk here, you can gather and try to process what I'm saying, and maybe if you want to revisit these things in the near future, we can, but I know my time is kind of short, so I want to keep moving on with this, but I hope that you're taking this in. And then so those were some of my biggest battles in the corporate America, corporate workforce, because it seems like you can't be just, it's not enough for you just to come in and be a good worker at some companies without them trying to make you buck dance and tap dance just because they don't like you carrying yourself the way you do. That's what I've seen, and I call that racism. And it's hard to almost label, but it's racism. But they want to try to act like all this stuff is in the past, and they're talking about raw, open, out in the open racism. But now you can see that raw in the open stuff coming back. It's coming back. The overt, the covert, hidden one is still there. But those are the ones that do not have the courage to let you see them for who they really are. Or if they are courageous, they're the most dangerous because they're not letting you see who they are, but they're that wolf in sheep's clothing. And so those kind of taskmasters are dangerous. And so when you're able to see those kind of people, the war and the battle that we're talking about, to be able to battle, the battle begins sometimes right at the doorstep. And it may not be out in the open where everybody can see it, but the battle goes on in secret. I call it secret war, or what you call silent warfare. And it's a shame that it still goes on. So let's go to the plantation real quick. And I kind of touched on a lot of it, so I don't want to really repeat a lot, but I'm gonna see if I can hit on some things again just to reinforce some things that I've already said. And we're gonna go to part 3 on this, and maybe part 4, because this is good information for you to consider while we have our lives with God and our lives with our fellow men. What's out there? Okay, so. I'm looking at this here to see how I want to approach this. Okay, so on the plantation, I already mentioned that there's certain do's and don'ts, and there's certain expectations, and some of those expectations are unrealistic for us today. We have to be able to be men and women. So a lot of those things in the past, but you could still be punished for taking a stand. You could still be punished for filing a lawsuit against a company for things that you felt were wrong. You still could be retaliated against for speaking up. You could be terrorized. Your house could be burned down. There's a lot of that threat still there. So we have to decide what is more important to us: to get down the road with our liberation, or to sit idly by and wait for some sovereign act or some angelic act of God to get us through this. Wait for some Moses to come out, part the waters. A lot of times it's not going to happen. We got to go out and fight. We got to go out and deal with it. So that's just the way it is many times. So in the plantation, they had people that controlled your emotions. Controlled. You couldn't be mad when you wanted to be mad, because if you were to show anger, you would be retaliated against. And that's a big thing that goes on in corporate America, in some of the workforces there. You have the wrong kind of person over it, and you can't even be upset, especially as a black male. They're totally threatened by you acting a certain way, and they would try to it could move you out. Some people are not threatened by it, but there are those that are. So you just can't. You just have to be you have to be almost overly non-threatening. So that's why I believe that feminizing of men is on the rise, because a lot of times rather than feeling like a threat, like you pose a threat, you would be feminine, in a way that doesn't threaten other people because of their insecurities. And I say you shouldn't yield to that kind of stuff. You need to love me for who I am or hate me for who I am. You got to pick one or the other. Okay, and we'll deal with it from there. Let me see. There's something that I want to go to, and I'm going to have to go to part 3 with this one, because I'm going to start it off with this, and I'm going to get in a little bit of sociology and psychology on you guys, and try to bring some of this from the classroom to the YouTube here. And I don't want to go too deep into it because it'll sidetrack you, but I want you to see something. But before I do that, I want to say that there's another quote out here. It says, to control a people, you must first control the way they think about themselves and how they regard their history and culture. And when your conqueror makes you ashamed of your culture and your history, he needs no prison walls and no chains to hold you. That's by John Henrik Clarke, a very prominent historian. And so we will pick up here in part 3. And thanks for joining us once again. Hotel.